Hey everybody, I'm Thomas Henson with Bike Lawyer NC, and we are here today, thrilled to be here with Cid Cardoso, who is the owner of Inside Out Sports. Cid, it's good to see you, brother.
To see you.
How you doing?
Good.
So,
Glad to be here.
tell us a little bit about Inside Out Sports and how you got started in all this. I know you've been in endurance sports for a long time, so tell us a little bit of the backstory.
I have. So I started Inside Out Sports 25 years ago. So this is actually our 25-year anniversary. It was in February '94 that we opened the doors.
Awesome.
And I had been an endurance athlete I think I did my first triathlon in '85. And did a lot of bike racing through school, and I moved to Raleigh '91. And after working a regular job for a few years, I felt like there was a need for something like this in the area. Triathlons were starting to grow, and we wanted to be a specialty running store and focus on running, swimming, biking, and triathlons. So that's we decided to give it a go. And 25 years later, here we are.
That's awesome. Yeah. So give the people who are watching a little bit of flavor of your experience with triathlon. I know you've raced at some pretty high levels.
Oh yeah. I mean, triathlons, it was one of those things that I fell in love with it right away. I'll admit it was hard. First one, it was hard. And as I was running, I probably thought several times, this is for the birds, man. Forget about
right.
this. I'm not doing this again. But then when you get done, the sense of accomplishment and the thrill. And for me, it was the thought that, hey, if I really start working on this, I can do better. And so then you start working on it, and you go a little longer, you go a little faster, and it was addictive. And I really enjoyed how it made me feel. I enjoyed the people that participated in triathlons, and it becomes a way of life.
That's awesome. So what if you had to, and I know this is a really tough question, but if you had to maybe boil down, if you had the three top pieces of advice for somebody who is getting ready to do their first kind of longer distance, or training for their first longer distance, in terms of doing it safely and without injury, what would those three takeaways be?
Well, so if we're talking about cycling, okay, let's we can jump around a little bit, but focusing on cycling, the first basic thing is to have a bike that is in proper working condition and that it fits the rider well. Those are the two basics, and I think that any reputable bike shop can help you with that. You want something that's safe. You want to make sure the brakes are working, make sure the gears are shifting properly. You want to minimize the chances of having mechanical problems out on the course.
I don't think people realize how important it is, or what the consequence is to not having a properly maintained bike. I mean, something wrong with your bike can cause you to go down, broken collarbone or worse. It affects whether you can avoid debris. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely. So worst case scenario is you're going to get seriously hurt. Best case scenario, you're just not going to enjoy the ride as much because the bike is not going to be working properly.
Right.
And a basic tune-up generally costs about $35 to $60. So we're not talking about something that should be cost prohibitive for most people to have a safe ride.
Right.
So proper working bike, and then the fit. I mean, most people don't realize that bikes are made in different sizes, and even within the sizes, there's fine-tuning with the stem size and the saddle height, and there's a slew of information, and it's a whole bike fitting is an entire science on itself, and to match the bike to the rider's biomechanics and dimensions and sizes and so forth are going to make it's going to make the rider so much more efficient, and thus more enjoyable. The ride is going to be more enjoyable and safer because you're going to be able to control the bike better. You're going to be in the proper position when going down a hill and taking a turn and so forth. Well, those will be the two first things before you start riding.
Yeah. And I think that's important because the proper fit can prevent either overuse or misuse of a particular body part. I mean, if you're not on the right fitted bike, you can have back pain, knee pain. I mean, those adjustments mean a big difference.
People talk about, you're going to get injured if you're not fit properly. Sure, I mean, again, that's the worst scenario.
Right.
But the best scenario is you're just not going to be getting as much enjoyment out of the ride as you would.
Right.
So I think that those two are important. And then the next things would be some equipment-based ones. And one of them that should be obvious is a helmet. helmet.
Right.
You know, a good helmet is a must. I think that for anybody to ride without a helmet these days it's foolishness and completely
It's
insane.
amazing how often we see it, and
Yeah.
it kills me every time I see
and
it.
And people think that you need a helmet because you're going to get hit by a car, but you don't. I mean, we see so many of our friends who get hurt on the greenway when
Right.
they were riding to or from somewhere because they were going at 10 miles an hour because either they hit a wet patch or somebody ran in front of them. And so it's important to have a helmet anytime. You know, it's the USAT and most of the sanctioning federations, they have a rule that if you're on your bike, it doesn't matter how slow you're going, you have to have a helmet on.
Right, right.
Even during the warm-up and warm-down parts of when you're just kind of tooling around before and after the race.
Gotcha.
Because
Okay.
it's that important.
All right, so we got helmet.
Helmet.
What's next?
Other things, I would say saddle is one that's important because that's a place where people who are getting into the sport tend to experience a lot of discomfort. And again, there's some things that you can do with the type of saddle is going to somewhat depend on the type of riding that you do. If you're riding gravel, you may need a saddle that's going to have certain characteristics. If you're riding the road, other characteristics. If you're going to be in a triathlon where you're kind of leaning forward in the aero bars, definitely another type of saddle.
Right.
And it's one of those things that again, it goes back to enjoyment. It's hard to enjoy a ride if you can't find the right position on the saddle.
Right.
Right. So matching the saddle with a good pair of bike shorts, just some basic equipment like that, I think it's important for that enjoyment.
Okay.
And the thing to keep in mind again is that I'm not for these things, you're not talking about $200 saddles.
Right.
You got saddles that are going to cost about $79, but that are going to
change your life.
Change your life, yeah. Same thing with bike shorts, and same thing with helmets. Just going back to helmets, inexpensive helmets are generally not going to protect your head less than expensive helmets.
You do not want to shortchange yourself on a helmet.
You
take
don't.
that from me.
Yeah, you don't, but you also don't need to spend $200.
Right.
Because what you're getting with a $200 helmet versus a $80 helmet is greater aerodynamics, lighter weight, maybe some bigger vents, which in the summer of North Carolina is definitely helpful. But with a $80 helmet, you're still going to get good head protection.
Right.
So
and aren't all the helmets, aren't they certified or rated by
they're
particular?
going to be certified, and there's a sticker inside that tells you whether the helmet is certified. And any helmet that is sold at a reputable store is going to be certified.
Gotcha.
It's like the Consumer Protection Agency, basically, that runs all the tests and determines whether the helmet is safe.
So before we wrap up this segment, what's maybe the last point you would emphasize to people in terms of being on the bike and being safe?
Well, the next one is obviously dealing with traffic.
Right.
And I think that in most environments these days, if you're going to ride and if you're going to ride outside, you are going to be faced with sharing the road with cars. So it's important to get comfortable on your bike, and you can do that gradually. You don't need to jump on the bike and go right through downtown Raleigh. But I think that to seek out group rides and to seek out the clubs and the organizations that kind of help, including, we have the Triangle Triathlon Club that offers beginner tips and beginner riding tips here on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, and you start out of the store.
We start out of the store, which is really a platform and an opportunity for people to start getting familiar. There's safety numbers, so it's better to be out with 1 or 2 or 10 people, and to ride with somebody who can give you a few tips of this is what you do in this situation, this is what you do in the other situation, and start gradually, because gradually you're going to become more comfortable, but not let that be a deterrent, because I think that it can be done in a safe and manageable way.
Sounds awesome. Cid, thank you so much, man.
My
That's
pleasure.
a ton of great information.
I hope
Come
this
see
helps.
the guys at Inside Out Sports, Cid and his crew. They do an awesome job. I'm Thomas Henson with Bike Lawyer NC. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about your rights as a cyclist or about bicycle law, feel free to leave a comment below or visit my site at bikelawyernc.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel for product reviews and more helpful tips for cyclists and runners. Ride safe, and I'll see you on the road.